Now let's do something even more interesting with arrays and see their power and how useful they are. Take notes because, like usual, you will get the most benefit out of this exercise if you see the problem and then you try to solve it yourself before you continue with the video to find out the solution. What we want to do is to create a class. We will name this class word list. And we will have a main method inside this class so that we can run our program and with different inputs provide command line arguments. But the most important method inside this class will be the method compute histogram. The compute histogram method will be computing the number of words of each length given as a parameter to the program. So, for example, say that I give as a parameter to the program two words, the word 1 and the word 3. How many letters does 1 have? It has 3 letters. How many letters does the word 3 have? It has 5 letters. Therefore, the histogram that I am going to output will have at the x-axis for 3 and for 5, the y values will be 1. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a very pretty output, the one that you will show, that you should at least output that there are that many words with this length. Whenever you need to make choices about maximum lengths, you can choose whatever seems reasonable to you and go for it. If you don't understand this comment right now, don't worry about it. Start developing the solution and this will come to play as you go. We have started writing our code, as you can see, bare bones, just the name of the class. We have inserted the main method where we are creating the word list object. You can see that the compiler is complaining about several things here, and I have left them on purpose incomplete so that we complete them together. I have also added a print histogram method, which we will also need to complete together, because I would like to take the output of the compute histogram and print it on the screen so that we see how compute histogram is doing, what kind of output, correct or incorrect, it is giving us. Now, how are we going to create this histogram? The idea is the following. We will want this method to return to us an array of integers. So the return type will be an array of integers. And why is that a good idea? Or an idea that it will at least work? Because we want to be telling how many words, for example, the user gave us that have length 3. So at the third position of the array, or better at index position I equal to 3, we will store the value that says how many words are of length 3. If the user gave us argument 5 words that had length 3, then the array at index equal to 3 will have the value 5. This is the idea and why we want to return an int array. So let's declare the int array that we're going to return. We can call it, for example, L. It doesn't really matter. What it matters is that we need to provide the size of this array upon its creation. And what should the size be? Well, we said that at int of I we will be storing how many words there are that have length I. In other words, the maximum length that we will regard in this array will have to do with what is the maximum length that we expect a word to have, a word that the user gives to us. We can declare a variable, an integer variable that we can call max length, and give the value 50, for example, and where the max length will be the maximum length that we have in the array. In other words, we don't expect the user to give to us any word that is longer than 50 characters, which is a probably reasonable assumption to make. What do we need to do next? We need to now populate this array with the values that we should. Now, remember that upon creation of the array, since this is an int array, the default value for each element is 0. So we don't need to initialize all of the array to 0, all of the array positions. What we need to do is go through all of the words that the user gives to us. So we will start from position 0 and go until words.length. And what is words? I have assumed here that words will be the args array that the main method will pass to compute histogram. So I have assumed here that we're going to say wl.compute histogram, and we are going to pass the args array as input. So words.length will be the length also of the args array. How many words did the user give to us? And then we will have to go just one word at a time. What do we need to do inside? For each of the words of the input, we need to figure out its length. So say that W is the words of I word. So at the first iteration, it will be the first word that the user gave in the command line. At the second iteration of the for loop, it will be the second word that the user gave at the command line, and so forth. Now we want to get the length of that word. Notice that words.length doesn't have a pair of parentheses because words is an array. W.length has a pair of parentheses because W is a string. This is how we get the length of a string. This is how we get the length of an array. This is a variable. This is a method. So this is the length of the word. What do we need to do with that? Let's call it C, for example. This is the length of the word. We want to say, oh, okay, here is a new word that has length C. We want to go at the position of our array L at position C and say we have one more word that has length C. So increase the count at that position. This is all that we want to do inside the for loop. And here you may notice that we have declared variables that we're not really using afterwards much. For example, we could say w.length here instead of C. So increase the L at position w.length. So we don't really need the declaration of C. Also, we don't even need the declaration of W. We could just say words of I dot length and increase that value. The reason I did not write it from the very beginning in this form is that it is probably confusing to understand, and especially if this is not something that you understand, you shouldn't try to write it this way. It will come naturally as you program more and more. So after we have populated the array L entrances with the right values, all we want to do is go ahead and return that array. Return the array L. We have seen the implementation of compute histogram. I have also implemented the print histogram, which will receive as input the output of the compute histogram. So the input parameter should be of the same type as the return parameter of compute histogram. And what do we do inside? We just print all of the non-zero values in the int array. So we go through the array, the lg.length, and if the value that it has at that index position is non-zero, then we print a statement which says that at that position we have this value. the number of words of length I is lg of I. And how do we call the inside the main method? Very simple. We call the print histogram, and we provide as argument the result of the compute histogram. Now, if you want to see the parameters that I have actually inputted for this particular program, I just gave the phrase, I gave a few words but nothing more. So this is the argument that we provide to our program, and if we run it, we will see exactly how many words of what length. And as you can see, it only prints non-zero values.